there, this is Debbie from the Nurse Botanicals. I'm sporting my Truth Pharm t-shirt today. If you don't know what Truth Pharm is, I'll leave a link in the description. You can check them out. They're a very worthy nonprofit organization. Don't mind my dog running around here. We're going to make some, I'm going to show you how to make some egg noodles today. I happen to have a lot of flour. I have some eggs. I'm stuck in the house. I figured I would make good use of that flour and those eggs and make some egg noodles. So stay tuned and we'll get to work. Alright, here we go. There's not really a recipe per se for these noodles. I never use a recipe. There's a general rule of thumb is about 1 cup of flour per egg and about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt per egg. And you know, you'll see why there really isn't a recipe as we go here. Don't leave your shells in there. So I'm gonna just use 2 eggs for this. I made some the other day. I used a dozen eggs because I just happen to have flour and eggs on hand. My mother was here. There was a ton of flour because she bakes and I don't. So I'm going to put, I got 2 eggs here, so I'm going to put, I don't know, around a teaspoon of salt. But anyway, I have all this flour here. I happen to have a bunch of eggs. So I figured this is what I'll do with the flour. Alright, so crack your eggs, put your salt in, whisk it up real good. Okay. So again, like a rule of thumb, they say, is about a cup of flour per egg, half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt per egg. You will see some recipes online that where milk is in the recipe. I've never done, you know, I've never added milk to mine, and certainly wouldn't waste my milk right now if you had a hard time finding it. So anyway, so you get that all mixed up good here. And then you start adding flour. You're going to add the flour a little bit at a time. Okay. And I use the whisk. You could use a fork, you could use a spoon, you could use anything you want to use. But I just use this whisk until it gets, until I can't really use the whisk anymore. I've got to switch over to a spoon. So, alright, so you just keep whisking that in. And you're going to add flour just a little bit at a time. I have to be careful here because I made a batch with 12 eggs the other day, and I don't want to add too much flour here. So, you can see it. Just going to keep whisking like that. See, this was my grandmother's recipe. My grandmother, Leon McClellan from Clarion, Iowa. This was her recipe. She made these, bless her heart, a lot. She, my grandfather, her husband, died very young in a tragic, he was a conductor on a train. He fell off the train and he was killed. And my grandmother was left with 5 kids to take care of back in the early 1940s, so, or late 1940s. So, she has a lot of neat recipes, and this was one of them. And my mother made these and used to make some of my Grandma Lonnie's recipes. The cool thing about these is that, you know, you can have them with anything. You can eat them with, we used to have chicken and noodles, but any meat and noodles, you can have them as, you know, a side dish. Buttered noodles, whatever you want to do. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to my spoon here because it's getting a little bit, just a hair bit thick. I'm just going to switch over to my spoon. Just add a little bit more flour. Every time you add the flour, you want to get it completely worked in. And there's a fine line between too much flour and not enough when you're doing it in the bowl here, because you want it to be a dough where it kind of, you know, it's almost like a pie crust dough, where it pulls away from the sides, which that's not anywhere near done there. But if you put too much flour in it at this time, what happens is you also need flour to roll them out, and then there'll be so much flour in them, it almost makes them, they're not as good, they're not tender. You know, they'll be more just kind of dry and not as tender. So, and it just takes some practice doing it, and so I would say it's almost just about ready here. A little bit more. Yeah, a little bit more. All right. I'd say this is about good here. Get some more flour going here. Don't mind if you hear my dog whining in the background. She's very vocal. She likes to whine for whatever reason. I'm going to add a hair bit more. It's not really pulling off the sides here. So I'll add just a little bit more. And I'm sure this will do the trick here. Yeah, that'll do it. So, hope everybody is safe, staying inside, keeping your distance. This whole virus definitely very scary, very scary. Anyway, so that's good right there. That's good. And it's still sticky, but don't worry. We want it to be that way. Like I said, if you put too much flour in it right now, it's not a good thing. And we're going to be adding more flour here. Okay? So you want to flour that real good. Get flour on your hands, because like I said, it's still quite sticky. Put that on there, and then I gotta get this off my spoon here. Don't worry about all these little crumbly things, we'll get them worked in. There we go. Alright, so some flour on top, flour on your hands, get those crumbly things off your hands because we're gonna work those in. Alright, so keep adding flour, some flour on it. Now this, you're going to knead it. You're going to slowly add flour, and every time you do, you're it's going to be sticky. You're going to knead it like I'm doing here. It's quite sticky, so I'm adding a little bit more here. But you're going to knead it like this, and every time you add flour, you're going to just knead it until the flour is all the way worked in. That's all the way, pretty much all the way worked in. See how sticky it still is? So we still need quite a bit of flour here. This could take from 3 to 5 minutes to do this, to knead it the right way, slowly add the flour. It could take from 3 to 5 minutes to get it. Yes, hi Luna, are you crying? Yeah. She's not getting any attention, so she's crying. What you mad, pretty girl? So I'm sure. Okay, so I added flour. I'm gonna knead it all in like this until the flour is pretty much all the way in. See, it's still sticky. It takes quite a while. You don't add too much flour at a time. So we're going to get more flour going here, do the same thing. So this could take from 3 to 5 minutes. So I'll come back when mine is just about ready. I'm going to take a break here too, and I think my girl needs to go outside. Alright, so we're just about ready here. And what your goal is here is you want to keep doing that, incorporating the flour in slowly, kneading it, and your end goal is you want it to be firm and not sticky. You want it to be, and this I would say is just about how I would want it. It's not sticky anymore, and you can tell when you're kneading it like this, it'll be sticky, and this isn't sticky. It didn't take me too long to get it like that, but again, you want to make sure you incorporate the flour slowly, okay? So now we're ready to roll it out. So grab your rolling pin. You want to make sure there's plenty of flour here. And this is the part where a lot of times people give up, because it's actually not really easy to roll them out as thin as you want them to be. You just have to keep working it, and I'll show you how to do that. So what you want to do is you want to start, from the middle, work your way out, okay, and keep turning it, because you want to try to have it in as even as a circle as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It won't be, believe me. Okay, let's go from the middle out. I'm going to turn it. Well, I say my countertop is pretty slick today. Okay. Alright, here we go. It does take some muscle to do this. I actually was doing this outside, if you can believe it, on one of my tables, and wasn't as slick as this particular countertop. That's okay, we'll get there. So go from the middle out, and try to keep your circle going there. Turn it over if you want to. And you really got to push hard. Takes a little bit of muscle. This takes a while, but I'll keep the video going just so you can see that it does take a little while, and it takes a little bit of muscle. You got to push. Give it some elbow grease. And just keep going. Depends on how thick you want these. I like them pretty thin. This is nowhere near it. It's going to be double or triple this size by the time we're done. You need to push pretty hard. Flatten them out. Now some people have machines. I guess they can thread the dough through. I've never used one of those. Not exactly sure how they work. I think, I'm not sure how they work. So I'm sticking a little bit down here, add a little bit of flour underneath it. I'm going to turn it over. I think this is a really good thing to use your flour for, especially at a time like this. Because what I do with these guys, I'll show you. I freeze them. I don't dry them completely. I find that if you freeze them and eat them, they taste more like fresh homemade noodles, which is why I make them to begin with. If I wanted dried out noodles, I would just buy them at the store. Alright, so this is just about done here. It's pretty thin. So kind of look around. Like I'd say my edges over here are a bit thicker than over there. So I'm going to just turn it a little bit. Flour is your friend here. Some people might want them a little thinner. Oh, there's a bug. Don't mind the bug. I'll give Frank that part. I try to get them as thin as I can. You know, like I say, it takes a little bit of work. Like this is taking a little while, but it's definitely worth it. So I'm just going to work these edges a tiny bit more, but this is pretty much how I like these. So I'm going to put a little bit more flour on here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to let this sit for, oh, I don't know, maybe about an hour. That's what I do. I don't know what. Right, so I didn't really, leave them for all that long. It's just kind of long enough where you don't want them to stick together. But here's how I cut them up. I use a pizza cutter. I cut these and I, fold it in half. Cut them this way. And this is just how I like them. You don't have to do it that way, this way at all. You really don't. You do it any way, they can be any length you want them. Okay. This just happens to be how I like them. So, cut them in half there. And then you can cut this one in half. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing is. That's for sure. Now, I gotta tell you, my mother, she likes them long. She'll cut them this way. Personally, I don't like them as long. Like, even if I eat spaghetti, I'll break it in half before I boil it because I just don't like those big long strands. So I cut it in half again here. Okay. Cut it in half again. This might be the point where people put them through a machine, I don't know. So anyways, and you still want your flour. Flour is your friend all the way through the process here. But this is the length I like them, so this is just how I do it. Alright, so I've got them, they're double stacked here. So, you're going to cut them up, and you're going to want to try to, keep them as even as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. It won't be perfect, believe me. You want to try to keep them as uniform as possible because, cooking them, So anyways, just the length I like them. So you're going to come up with, just what they're going to look like. If you want them longer, make them longer. If you want them thicker, wide noodles, make them wider. This works for me as an all-purpose sort of a noodle. Alright, so Now, how much per serving? You know, you gotta play around with that. I've read online 3 to 4 ounces per person with a fresh noodle. You can weigh them out if you want to. If you know, maybe make 8-ounce packages to freeze or whatever, or you can cook these right away too. So just going to finish cutting these up here, and while I'm doing that, first off I want to talk about Truth Pharm a little bit. I mentioned them earlier. Truth Pharm is a non-profit organization very near and dear to my heart in Broome County, New York. And they work tirelessly to help educate people regarding all things with the whole opioid epidemic. You know, I have so many friends, they've lost their children to the epidemic, and it's a very sad thing. The epidemic touched me. That's how I found Truth Pharm. You know, my son, you know, became, long story, but he came home his first semester from college and with an opioid problem. I'm lucky that my son is alive. I've got many friends whose children are not alive. The epidemic, the opioid epidemic, can touch anyone. A good parent, a bad parent, it doesn't matter. You could be the best parent in the world, and it could find its way to you. So, you know, like I say, I'm going to leave a link in the description to Truth Pharm if you want to check them out, if you have any, you know, if you want to donate your time, anything to help them. They're also working right now tirelessly with the whole Covid-19. You know, trying to make sure people are safe. So that's Truth Pharm, and I will leave a link in the description. It'd be nice if you go onto their Facebook page and give them a like for all the great things they're doing. As for me, I'm trying to get my website, the Nurse Botanicals, up and running. Been a long process. Almost done, but I have a lot of great products. I wild harvest medicinal mushrooms on property that we have in upstate New York. I make chaga tincture, reishi tincture, birch polypore tincture, turkey tail tincture, all from mushrooms that I wild harvest on our property up in upstate New York. I'm a retired registered nurse. After I retired from my nursing job, I became interested, don't ask me why or how, a long story, in making and formulating skincare products. And then when I found the chaga mushroom, and I learned about all the fantastic health benefits and skin benefits that it has, I now incorporate chaga into all of my skincare products. So I will put a link to my website, and you can go, and I think I've got a coming soon banner up there that you could share if you'd like to, and get a coupon. Speaking of which, what should I do as far as that goes? Anybody have any suggestions? Go ahead and comment. You know, I'm thinking of maybe offering my products at, you know, a fraction above what it costs me to make them. At this point, I know nobody can really afford to go out and buy skincare products. But the tinctures, they have a lot of medicinal value. They have immune enhancing properties, which is an important thing right now. You're welcome to message me if you're interested in any of those tinctures. And hopefully my website will be up and running pretty soon. So here we go. Am I scratching my countertop up? I don't know. I really don't know. I guess I don't care, or I wouldn't be doing it. Alright. So, you know, like I say, this is what they're going to look like after you cut them up, okay? Like I say, you can do any shape, size you want. What I do here is I'll spread them out a bit. You can cook them right from here if you want to. Just make sure that they don't stick together when you add them to the boiling water. Alright? If you do this, it does help. You spread them out a bit, add some more flour. Add more flour to them. Add more flour to them. And again, let them sit, you know, for just a little while. You want them just kind of dry enough so they don't stick together, but you don't want them too dry, you know. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just get these ready to put in the freezer. Since it's just me and Frank here, I'm going to do 2 separate packages here because, you know, it'll probably be enough for us, and if it's not, I can take 2 packages out. Put extra flour in when you freeze them. It's going to help to keep them separated, and it'll help to, you know, thicken, you know, whatever it is you might be wanting to make with them. And this is all I do. Put in these small packages because, you know, right now it's just me and Cranky Frankie. I call him Cranky Frankie because he always looks cranky. So, anyway, thanks for watching, and hope your noodles come out